Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in today's video, we are going to be breaking down the most overpowered hero talent ability, and it's one that you probably did not expect. Now, I have been playing Discipline Priest all throughout Shadowlands and Dragonflight. I got rank 1 in Solo Shuffle. I've been Gladiator multiple times on the specialization, and I absolutely love it. It's usually been one of the first specializations that I level in an expansion, but in the War Within, I kind of postponed my leveling it because I had been playing it every single time, and I really regret postponing it because the gameplay on it is phenomenal, and the power is absolutely through the roof. So the hero talent that we're going to be breaking down in today's video and covering some of the gameplay of the Discipline Priest and what it really has to offer is coming from the Oracle hero talent tree, and it's an ability called Premonition, and it's one that you may not have even really considered. You know, it's coming from a healer. It's kind of subtle, it's in the shadows, but it does not mean that it is not strong. And you can see here that it's broken down into 3 different categories. The first time that you're going to use it, it's Premonition of Insight. It will reduce the cooldown of your next 3 spell casts by up to 9.8 seconds, and there's multiple ways to use this. You can use this to fire off 3 penances in a row. You can use this to use it like a miniature rapture and use 3 power word shields in a row, and it's very powerful and effective and multi-purposed on whether or not you want to single target heal pump penances or get a truck ton of damage out with it initially. Now, after you've casted Premonition of Insight, it will then transform into Premonition of Piety, which increases your healing done by 28% and will cause 98% of your overhealing to be redistributed amongst 4 other allies. This is basically avenging wrath from a paladin. So we go from mini rapture penance bazooka to avenging wrath from paladins with an added effect as well with the overhealing. And then the third time that you press Premonition, it will become Premonition of Solace, which then will cause your next single target healing ability to grant a shield to the target for 2.5 million damage. And also, that's not even it. It will reduce the damage taken on that target by 14% for 15 seconds. This thing is Life Cocoon and Iron Bark in the same button. It's in the same button. And then to top it all off, you thought that this was as wild as it could get. No. The 4th time that you press Premonition, it gives you all 3 of these effects at the same time. It is absolutely by far the most powerful ability in World of Warcraft right now, at least in PvP. It is by far. So we're going to be breaking down some gameplay here. I did a couple of solo shuffle ladders. I was wearing full green gear. This is like something that you can do basically just right out of the gate with Discipline Priest because it is just so remarkably powerful. You have so many cooldowns you can just constantly flip between in order to keep your teammates aggressive, and that even if you're under geared with no enchants, no embellishments, absolutely nothing, no tier set, you can still make it work. So we got powered shields and renews up onto our allies, and we've applied atonement so that our damaging abilities will then provide healing. Now they open up on me as a Disc Priest, and if you're looking for a healer that's basically invincible, you're going to want to go with the Disc Priest because this class is really tanky, even in full green. So I've activated my first 2 charges of Premonition, which you can overlap. So I have Avenging Wrath active, and I used it to use 3 instant power word shields because I didn't want to get kicked while I was getting attacked. And it's allowed me to basically just immediately deal with Incarnation from the Feral Druid, which is probably one of the most threatening, if not most threatening, damage dealing cooldowns in the game, as well as the Bestial Wrath and Call of the Wild from the Hunter. Now we're going to use Ultimate Penance, which is really fun ability. Just fly up into the air, lob out a huge bunch of penances, just attack everybody in line of sight. And you also get to immune crowd control. So it's visually super fun, very high powered, awesome class. So we're going to come out of crowd control. Now that I'm on DR, I'm going to use my Rapture. This is enabling my powered shields to be really thick. They're going to absorb a ton of damage. And I'm going to use a pain suppression as well because we get cooldown reduction from our powered shields being absorbed to the reduction of our pain suppression. So you kind of want to get a pain suppression on cooldown pretty early in order to get multiple of them in the game. And now we finally got to our 3rd charge of Premonition, which is going to give us basically a Life Cocoon Iron Bark on any target that we desire. So we can just flip one cooldown after the other. We did the double Premonition opener with the Avenging Wrath style healing increase into a Rapture, into an Ultimate Penitence, into a Pain Sub, and now we've got that Life Cocoon shield up onto the Warlock that is allowing them to survive during this time. It's really good for anticipating crowd control as well. So you pretty much have every tool that typically a healer would be frustrated by, to be able to deal with those tools. So it is really fun. I'm just keeping up with damage. I'm keeping dots on enemy targets. You can see even in full green gear, I'm able to heal to this quite effectively. We're dropping down Power Word Barrier, ducking into that, fearing the pets on the Bestial Wrath. You can make offensive plays with it. You can do damage with it. It is really insanely high raw throughput. Only problem I was really running into is mana, and it might just be because I'm rusty on the spec, and obviously I'm super under geared. And so I think a little bit more efficient play as far as atonement. You can even shore up some of the mana issues that come along with it specifically. Now you can see like, oh, we got Premonition available again, so we can use that to fire off 3 penances in a row into the Shaman here, and we can kind of restabilize his health. Dampening's at 45%, so it becomes really difficult at this point for penance to really get a lot of effective healing, but that ties us right into our Rapture. So now we can Power Word Shield, we can Rapture, and you can see that the cooldowns just continuously chain one after the other after the other. We keep using Psychic Scream on the Bestial Wrath Hunter pets. Really good strategy against Beastmaster Hunters with how popular they are is to use crowd control on their pets when they go red like this with the little tiger mouth on them, and we're able to close out the game on the Feral Druid. There's a couple shuffles in. I think we were playing it close to like 1900 MMR on this with full green gear. Didn't want to upload a clip of like the first game when you get people that are completely green. But in these lobbies, most of these players are literally entirely geared. They have every single piece of gear that you could want right now in the season. So I'm playing at a huge disadvantage in that sense. And I've played other classes and I've felt that disadvantage. But on Discipline Priest, I did not feel it nearly as much. This class is incredibly potent. So now this time around, we've got the Shaman on our team. We got the Beast Mastery Hunter on our team. We're going to play the same type of game. You kind of want to get Premonition on cooldown as soon as possible so you can cycle it to that ultimate Premonition that's going to give you the 3 instant penances. It's going to give you the big shield on the target, and it's going to give you Avenging Wrath. And you'll get it like right exactly when Dampening hits a critical point as well if you're able to cycle through it fast enough. We start with the Mind Blast, Penance, and Purge the Wicked in order to get a bunch of pressure on the Warlock, forcing them to retreat away. And then we're just immediately double Premonition. We've got our 3 Power Word Shields that I'm just kind of spamming out while chilling in the back. Could use it for penance. I'm just a bit worried about getting kicked on it, so playing it more safe and just using it on Power Word Shield instead in this position. And then that's working us towards the 3rd charge of Premonition, which is going to be that Life Cocoon Shield. And we're not too worried because we can just chain Pain Suppression now. We can chain Rapture to get to it. I did Ultimate Penitence like I did in the last game. This is getting a lot of damage and pressure out onto the Warlock, continuing to try and force them back and prevent them from pushing on top of me. It's really important you stay ahead of damage over time effects because it can be one way that you get overwhelmed. So if you can't avoid CC or interrupts, you can't get in a good position to maintain your atonements. It could be difficult to maintain long term. See Paladin coming in, so I'm just going to punish him with a Psychic Scream. That gets his trinket. So I really like that you can do offensive plays, but then we get put into every CC. So I'm going to trinket that, chain that immediately into my Rapture, and this is getting me time. Now my Solace is about to come up, and I got that Life Cocoon Shield. So this is buying me more than enough time in order to get there. I have another Pain Suppression as well, and Life Swap and Barrier, and you can see that just one after the other, after the other, after the other, you can just continuously chain these cooldowns. So there goes that Life Cocoon Shield down to the Shaman. He can play aggressive. Feral Druid has to run away or die basically because making this exchange is not going to look too good for him. Warlock finds a fear. Unfortunately, it was on the Shaman, not me, but not too big of a deal. I'm just going to drop some damage on the Warlock, reposition with my team. Continue to try and make sure that they're as healthy as possible to keep up their aggression because we have a lot of momentum right now. See stuns coming up. Paladin comes in. Tried to fade this, didn't press it fast enough, but you can actually fade enemies that when they come in and immune their crowd control. So you have really fun outplay mechanics. Everything about this healer is just so fun and strong, and I think it's no wonder that like its popularity is almost always through the roofs when it comes to PvP specifically. Right here we use the fade on his Searing Glare so the Paladin doesn't hit us, and I tried to go for a Dispel there as well. Kind of risky with the UAs, but with Dampening getting high like this, I want to just remove all of the Warlock's damage. Bless Protection out, but I can't really purge these behind the pillar. I don't want to fall behind, but I've chained, I've survived. My ultimate Solace is coming up, and this one is going to give me a Life Cocoon Shield. This one's going to give me the 3 cast of Penance possibly. So here I'm just channeling Penance, 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 and giving the shield up onto the Shaman even at 50% dampening and managing to recover him in that situation, which now buys time. Guess what? Rapture is off cooldown. I'm still sitting with Void Shift. After Rapture, I'm going to have Pain Suppression. I am just going to be a limitless, unlimited cooldown trading in this type of situation, and I'm having so much fun. And, you know, it doesn't have the downsides of other healers like Restoration Shaman where you got positional issues or people need to be standing in your healing rain and standing in your Earthen Wall and they don't see it and then they don't play around it and you're struggling the whole time. Because in this session, I played Resto Shaman before and I'm fully geared on the Resto Shaman. I was having a way better time on a full green geared Disc Priest. So obviously I think some healers need some buffs, need some attention. Resto Shaman definitely being one of them. Resto Druid, and I think even Holy Priest are some that definitely need to be looked at specifically, especially if we want to start incentivizing shuffle queue times, because if you have any healer specializations that feel like they can't compete with the other ones, those healers are just going to stop playing the game, and if those healers stop playing the game, then everybody's queues get longer. So we definitely need more healer buffs to the underperformers, but out of the ones that are performing well, you're going to have a good time. So if you're struggling Shaman or Druid or something like that, man, Disc Priest is power and fun. You definitely need to try it. So now we've got Feral Druid and we've got Elemental Shaman against Warlock Hunter. And I think I did lose one round in this lobby, but I'm not too certain which one it was specifically. Feral Druid's kind of going in deep here. So we're going to activate our Premonition, toss out some shields, but we get kicked. I went for that triple penance, and you see how it can kind of go back on you if you try and cast it in front of too many interrupts. That's why sometimes in that first charge of Premonition, I just spam out the powered shields. But we've basically got Avenging Wrath up right now with that second cast. So we're basically the Holy Paladin. Your spell's mine now, and it's making healing this opener a lot easier. I'm going to use a charge of Pain Suppression as well, so it starts working on getting off cooldown so I can get a third one later on in the game. Most solo shuffle matches, you want to use cooldowns early and frequently, because it's going to be just, you don't want to risk losing the game early, so it's just better to trade them. Fear the Bestial Wrath onto the pets, kind of focusing that fear defensively. We have a Druid who can Cyclone, so I don't really want to DR CC onto players when Cyclone is way more effective. And there's not a lot of instant CC for the pets with our team. Here I see a Repentance, so you can use Fade to immune it, or you could use Shadow or Death at the end of a crowd control cast to break crowd control on yourself. So really fun, kind of just like outplay, high impact abilities on this specialization specifically. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play the game, you're looking for something that's kind of going to give you instant cues and almost give you the kind of feel of a DPS, Discipline Priest is absolutely a spec you need to play. Here we go, you got that third charge of Premonition. Look at that shield up on the Feral Druid, a little Life Cocoon Iron Bark, and he's having a good time pushing in, stunning the Warlock, drop down a Barrier. Of course, Barrier, I guess, some players are not going to play around it. I see a Hex. Now this is the time where I think Fearing the Paladin would be good. He's out of line of his team. He has no Trinket. We've got Warlock on the other side of the pillar. He's completely isolated. I'm pumping out damage, ultimate penitence. It's just so satisfying. Like I feel like I'm part of the kill. I can keep the team going. If I play more efficiently and more effectively, then I'm going to absolutely dominate in these types of situations, which I love about it. I absolutely love about it. It is just save magnifique, just chef's kiss. Absolutely love this spec. Can't believe that I decided to put it on the shelf to try something different, man. I don't know. I'm never going to do that again. I'm never making that mistake again, man. Disc Priest, unless it changes dramatically in a worse direction or something like that, I ain't putting this spec down for anything else for the time being, because it is just remarkable. I really liked it. Now we're starting the next round. We got a Feral Druid and a BM Hunter on our team. We're hotted up. We got Atonement with Renew and Power Word Shield. Pushing forward with our Angelic Feathers, Purge the Wicked, go for a little penance offensively here, get the healing with Atonement. Should have maybe Mind Blasted first, honestly, because you can penance around the corner, and obviously Mind Blast will buff your penance in that situation. But again, these are like minor improvements that you can make. Highly recommend that you do watch your own gameplay back, though. On my Beast Mastery Hunter, I went up 300 rating after watching one VOD of my own gameplay. We're going to use Barrier really early in this situation, which I kind of disagree with. I think that would be better to use my Premonitions. I want to get those on cooldown as soon as possible, so that's working towards that third one. If you use them a little bit too late, you might not survive long enough to get to the fourth ultimate Premonition. So I used Pain Suppression and Barrier this time around, which I don't mind the Pain Suppression so much because we have cooldown reduction for it. But the Barrier is a 3-minute cooldown. You're probably only going to see it once in the game. So picking like a big moment for that, rather than the opener, probably would have been wiser for me here. So we got that one Premonition down. We've used mostly powered shields with it, with the cooldown reduction. And now we get the next one, which I'm kind of sitting on. I think the reason I'm sitting on it is because no one's really losing health, but we're going to pair it with our Rapture, and that's a super combo. If you get a Premonition, basically the Avenging Wrath healing increase one, with a Rapture, your shields are massive, but we're still taking a lot of damage. We're kind of just pushing in and letting the Warlock free cast, which is why this is becoming so difficult, and I'm getting pulled into this spot. This is totally a positional mishap, and we're kind of trading cooldowns really late. We have Exhilaration. We're kind of sitting on it. We're kind of going after the wrong target. We should be going after the Warlock in this type of matchup, and we're just kind of letting the Warlock do whatever he wants. So this is the type of situation where even if you have powerful classes like a Beast Mastery Hunter and a Feral Druid, if you're not following the right strat, if you don't have good positioning, like, you can still go down. So I try and fish for an ultimate penance so I can avoid crowd control, because I'm in the thick of it, bro. There's tons of people around me. I got nowhere to line of sight, so I'm going to try and go into the skies to dodge some crowd control, get some pressure out onto the Shaman. But now there's a lot of interrupts that I'm susceptible to. We can use, or actually we just broke out of that fear there, luckily. I see the Blessing of Protection. Not really having a lot of time to purge it, though, as I'm trying to pick up the hunter and make sure that he's stable. But now the hunter's pulling me back to that back corner, which is now going to drag me out in the open. It's like we should have played on the top, me and the hunter, with the stairs. So if the lock ports, we can just immediately go back up to where they are, and the Feral Druid can wild charge to one of us as an ally. Because playing down here out in the open against wizards is just asking to get destroyed. You're just asking to get destroyed. You got to play in a position where you can stay on the warlock, shut the warlock down, and get to the portal more immediately, and make sure that your healer isn't completely exposed in the middle of the map. And that's where like a positional thing. So if I could do that round over again, I'd probably keybind some pings and be like pinging like go here or something, because that position was absolutely atrocious. Not even the power premonition and discipline priest. And maybe if I didn't have green gear, maybe if I was fully geared, maybe I could get away with doing what we did right there. But in that situation, in these circumstances, absolutely no chance. It is not going to be happening. So now we're moving in. We got Warlock, Beastmaster, Hunter on our team. We've loaded up our atonements. We're ready to go with powered shields and renew on all of our allies. Ferret opens on me again, but it's like, hey man, I'm a disc priest. I really don't. Maybe he's thinking I'm bad because we just died because our positioning was terrible. So he tries to go after me. And even in green gear, I kind of get low, but I can just use my premonition. Kind of overlapped it with the rapture, unfortunately, which is going to take up some of the charges. Would not recommend using that first charge of premonition with rapture because it'll interact in a weird way where it'll consume the charges, but it doesn't really matter because your shields have no cooldown anyways. So I think I should have just done double premonition there and spam powered shield before using rapture, but use a pain suppression with that. That chains us through. Our premonition is now working towards the next big rotation, which is going to be that life cocoon, which is exactly what we want. And we have other cooldowns that can extend our time there, like the ultimate penitence and with mind blast as well. So it's going to be a nice amount of damage cutting through the bulwark totem there of the shaman and breaking down the shields. We've got life grip, and we actually have double life grip. So I'm going to grip the hunter down and grip the warlock down because we're running double caster. I want my teammates out in the open so that they can free cast on enemies, and I can pull the enemies into a good spot to crowd control. So I fear the paladin. He gets feared top side. Feral Druid gets pulled away. Warlock's porting to the top side. Really like the positioning that we have with them out in the open at the moment, and we could just absolutely shred them as double caster. That's why it's so important to try and play around that type of line of sight when you have that type of composition. And now finally we've got the Feral Druid, Affliction Warlock, big dot damage. It's kind of a burst crowd control comp. I think, LE Beastmaster, it's probably like one of the most flavor of the month lobbies that you're probably going to see with all of these classes. But LE Beastmaster Hunter is a really strong ladder comp at the moment. Does a lot of consistent damage and just one instant CC, a couple of Earthshock crits. It can drop somebody. So this time around, hopefully we're going to be using our Premonition earlier, not overlapping it with the Rapture. At least the first charge of Premonition, you don't want to overlap with Rapture. The second one is fine because it's going to increase the shield's effectiveness, and that's really good for a lot of reasons. High value instant cast spells, reflecting damage back at attackers and reducing the cooldown of your pain suppression. That's not a bad combo. Feral Druid kind of opens up on his own behind the pillar, and it's really scary. So this is, again, the type of thing with positioning. Warlock and I were setting up our camp to be able to port and play with the top side, and Feral Druid kind of doing his own thing, line of sighting and almost going down. So we managed to life grip him, which is another advantage of playing the discipline priest. When somebody's doing that stuff, line of sight, and you're running in like they want to throw the game, yoink their butt out of that situation, and you can completely turn that into a dub. So we're going to power infusion here onto the warlock, dump out triple. I wanted to offensively triple penance here with the warlock. I thought it could be fun to do that with damage, but then we end up just taking a truck ton of damage, so it didn't really work out for us in that situation. I'm getting CC'd, so it's really hard to find a window to get that triple penance, and you kind of just want to get that premonition on cooldown so you're working towards the next one. So it's a really tough gamble, but I dispel the Searing Glare off the warlock. I want him to be able to keep maximizing his damage, and I'm pushing it really aggressively here, trying to get a double fear, but then I just fear into a tremor. So obviously you want to pay attention if tremor totem is on the ground. Regardless though, the hunter got caught in a bad position and he's getting very low on health, and now he's forced away, keeping up our atonements on all of our allies, tossing up penances, tossing out renews as well. I really like using renew. I feel like I see a lot of disc priests, they don't use it enough. I think of it as like I need to have this up 100% of the time on targets that are getting attacked. It's just a nice little bit of mitigation that maintains health along with your purge the wicked. It's just really good to keep it up. We'll use a pain suppression here. We're chaining in. We got our next solace, so I'm really confident that we can just keep the team going for quite a long time now in this position. If the Feral Druid wants to make a push, and I can activate that premonition at any time. Still kind of just waiting to see who they're going after, and then I decide to put it on the Feral Druid. Stun up the hunter, blast him down, absolutely crush him, and feel like a god while doing it. So everything about this specialization is entertaining, fun, and powerful, and absolutely built to have a great time in solo shuffle plus instant queues. So definitely check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive of the Discipline Priest, and I really have to sneeze. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.